Welcome. Let's just get started and talk about what is actually going to happen in this class. So let's just talk about the big picture of the class and of your education. So I love these right here, and this kind of thing is the point of this class. An education does not prepare a student to must prepare a student to ask and explore questions in contexts that do not exist. You are going to be teaching students problem solving skills. That's part of your job as elementary school teachers. And so we can't just simply do exact certain problems. You're going to have to be inventive and creative, and because that's what you want your students to do. So I'm going to encourage you to kind of do that. And one of the ways to do that is actually by letting you be a little bit independent, inquisitive, and persistent. And talk about the activities we're going to do to get there. But that means you have to get those skills. This is not just, I'm going to listen, I'm going to absorb it. You're going to actually have to do some stuff this semester to really get it. So be aware this class is going to require you to do mindful preparation. That means you're going to need to actually try to we have, for instance, readings. You need to read and think about this stuff. I'm going to give you questions. If you just jump in thinking I'm going to hit a homework and be done with a whole week in an hour, it's not going to really work. We're also going to do stuff called active learning. While I'm going to make videos, because we don't have another way to learn, there is going to be a lot of like discussion boards and other things that I'll be jumping in on. And I'm going to want you all to actually work through some problems, because that is how we learn how to problem solve, is literally by doing. We don't learn problem solving by watching someone do it. We learn more by doing it ourselves. So my main role in this class is I'm a consultant. I'm there for you to ask questions. I'm designing the material. I'm giving you feedback, and I'm the person between you and the material to be that mentor. So please ask questions. Please do really participate and realize there is nothing wrong with wanting to learn. Everything should be a learning opportunity. If you let it do that, you'll have a great success. If you're trying to pass this class as simply a check mark, you're probably going to have some struggles. I'm going to be honest about that. So let's just hit a couple other things. This is kind of quotes I really love. Any creative endeavor is built on an ash heap of failure. You're going to make mistakes, and that is completely 100% okay. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are what we learn from. Additionally, you become clever through your mistakes. I love that proverb. And then lastly, if you want to sharpen a sword, you have to remove a little metal. That literally means that in order to make us better, sometimes we have to take some of that dullness off. Sometimes we have to do a little bit more that sometimes doesn't feel comfortable, but in the end we end up better. And that's where I want to get you. So let's just talk about some basic expectations or needs of the course. So what do you need? First off, you're going to need internet access. This is an online class. We're going to post stuff online. We're going to post stuff in Canvas. You're going to need to be jumping in and so forth. If your internet's really sketchy, you're going to want to figure something out. You are going to need a webcam. I'll tell you about a little more, but that's because of part of when we take assessments, you're going to actually activate your webcam, and it's part of the way to verify that you are you during this process, and that you are abiding by the expectations. It's part of the proctoring tools that we have. We have a textbook. Now, this textbook you don't need my math lab for it. It is by Pearson. It's a really big textbook. If you want to get the digital copy of it without my math lab, just the digital copy, that is perfectly fine. If you prefer to hold a hard copy in your hands, do that. It's okay. The cheapest option is just going to be a digital copy. Pearson usually offers some really good deals for just the digital copy. I'll let you contact the bookstore and deal with that. Another thing I want to just lay out real quickly is expectations of this course in terms of time. This class is not going to really work if all you're going to do is jump in once a week and try to do it all in one day. It really is going to need you to be in at least 2 or 3 times throughout the week, and I would encourage you to be engaging it even more. Realize you're doing this during the summer, and the summer is really hard in this aspect. We are going to go at 1.5 times the normal pace. We have 10 weeks, whereas a normal semester has 15. So that means we have to go faster. We're going to hit stuff a little bit faster and a little more intense. That means you already need to pare things back and focus in on what is most important. So please set your schedule this semester. I don't care if those 9 to 13 hours are in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the evening. I don't care if they're from 2 to 3 in the morning throughout the week. Just try to find a consistent time for yourself and block that out. I promise you, it's kind of what you need to do to learn well. All right, let's talk about some other expectations for the class. First, the prerequisite. To be in this class, you need to have gotten a C or better in college algebra and also the fundamentals of math 1 and 2. Those materials, in all honesty, are the concepts. We're going to go over stuff. We should not be teaching new concepts in this class. I should be simply reiterating, illustrating different ways to think about the same problems and so forth. If you have never learned any of those things in those classes, please come tell me, because that means we're failing somewhere in the prerequisite process. We specifically are not trying to overlap significantly. However, this class is specifically designed to help prepare you for your content exam, because it's your last math content course. So in that regard, we are going to do math content while also teaching about problem solving. So both are going to be going throughout the course. In terms of our activities of the class, what we're going to do, well, we have 3 main categories besides the general assessments, and they are readings, discussion boards, and homework. Let's talk about readings for a second. They're going to be up to 2 each week. I'm going to make the first week a little bit easier. I'm going to tone it down with just 1 because I just want you to get yourself in it. You need to read the assigned text. Sometimes it's going to be chapters in your book, a certain number of pages in your book. Sometimes it's going to be asking you to do something with an article that's outside the book. So realize there's a lot of different things. I will post it. There'll be different due dates based on the other activities we have going on. Please be cognizant. Not only do you need to read it, though, you're going to then write a summary of that and how it affected you. This should be about half a page to a page. Sometimes you want to go longer. It should be, I would recommend that you type this up. It's easier to submit those Word documents, PDFs, and so forth through Canvas. Our class is in Canvas than it is to actually just try to write it by hand and take a picture. This leads me then to the discussion boards. You're going to have up to 2 each week. Some weeks will be 1, some weeks will be 2. It's going to kind of vary. Most of these boards will focus on you discussing and working through challenging problems as a group. Now, our class has about 6 students. That means there's an opportunity for us to work together. So you will be expected to post, and not just post, this is what I did, but post throughout the week steps as to how you would attack a problem. What was your plan? How did you execute that plan? What was the result? How would you change it? By the way, I just kind of gave you one of the key problem-solving methodologies that Poya originally came up with. It's in your book. Don't worry, I'll give you more. You'll also be expected to check these multiple times because you will be graded on not only your personal response, but how you respond to other people. And there'll be different due dates based on those different expectations. Your first discussion board, for instance, you are to post something about you, and then you're supposed to respond to your classmates. Realize that those are 2 different dates. I'd recommend that you jump in and participate separately on those dates. Let's also talk about homework, which is also up to 2 homework assignments each week. These are by hand. These are not in my math lab. I do that for 2 reasons. 1, to save you a little money. 2, it's by hand so that you can focus on writing down your answers, not about, I simply clicked a number. I really want to see the process more than anything else, which leads me to how it's graded. Each homework will be graded 30% on completion. So if you just do all the problems, you get 30%. If it's completely accurate, so whether or not your answer is accurate and your steps are accurate, that's 30%. And then 40% will be based on how well you show your thought process. Do not be afraid to use words to show where you struggle and so forth. I would rather you be incorrect and show a correct process and just make a simple mistake in the process, but showed your thought process well. And I'll come back to the reason for this is based on the outcomes of our class. I'll come back to that. We will also have what are called concept assessments. There are 4 of these. I'll hit the dates in just a minute. Each one will have up to 2 hours, not to teach it, to take it, meaning you will take, these are like quizzes, exams, whatever you want to call it. They are the conceptual ideas. These again will be in Canvas. They will be using something called the lockdown browser with a webcam, so that just making sure that you're abiding by the expectations. It's actually you taking it. It's not some random person. Now, I'll hit two things. I'll come back to that. There are no notes, no calculator, and no outside help allowed. So that's part of the reason we have that lockdown browser, so you cannot like use another thing. We will have a practice quiz that'll be worth absolutely nothing. It will not hurt you. You'll just get credit for doing it. You can do it as many times as you want to practice downloading and going through this process of your lockdown browser, just so you can see how it works. Again, there's no calculator. Let me hit that real quick. Why? Well, if you're teaching elementary school kids, do they have calculators? They actually don't. So we do not have calculators in elementary school. So why would you want a calculator if your students aren't? Similarly, the content exam does not allow you to have a calculator. So why would we give you a calculator now when you're not allowed to take it on the exam that you have to pass? To me, that just doesn't make sense in preparing you. Now, realize again, my focus in this class is not on, we do have some numeric things we're going to do. My concern is not that you mess up somewhere along the way and you're like 2 times 3 equals 5, because your brain thought plus instead of multiplication. But I want you to realize that's what I'm trying to get at. Do not worry about that. Focus more on other things. So if you want to use a calculator, check your work as you work through things, that's okay. But a bigger thing is use your brain. This class is about problem solving and thinking. It's not about calculating. All right, going back to the other one. If, however, on one of the exams, you get below 70%, you must get 70% on every single one of these assessments. If you get below it, you'll have an opportunity to sign up to attempt again a second time on a different exam, very similar, to get over that 70%. We will then take the average of those two scores, and that will be your overall score for the class. For that particular assessment in the grade book. But I would recommend just getting over 70% the first time. These the questions were based on the homework and discussion board. So if you're actively in the material, you should be prepared. It should not be a shocker. All right. So here are the dates. The 4 assessments are number assessment, algebra assessment, data and probability, and geometry. By the way, those areas are the key areas of your content exam. As you notice, the first one isn't until week 3 of the term. That's so that we can kind of get your feet wet. You can get accustomed to everything. We have time for a practice exam and so forth. And then it's about every 2 weeks after that. The geometry exam, you'll notice I shifted it to Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. That's actually because Thursday of that week is the last day of class. So I need to give this early so I can quickly grade it and determine if any of you need to do a second attempt. And I will reach out to quickly try to rectify that problem. However, the university does have a policy that homework and all other work is supposed to be due by that Thursday. So that's why we don't be doing a quick makeup the last minute. All right. Most of these, again, notice I'm giving you a 2-day window. You get to pick which of those days you want. Again, it will be online. I will get to see the videos afterwards if there's anything suspicious. But this is not for the internet. It's simply to make sure that you're just following the rules. And so don't worry about it too much. Grade breakdown. As you can see, reading and online discussions are both worth 12.5%. That's about 1/8 of the class. Homework is 15%. Number assessment is 20% because we're just going to spend a little more time, and that tends to have more TEKS associated with it. Algebra assessment has 15%, data and probability 15%, and geometry 10%. Honestly, I tried breaking these down based on the TEKS, how they're distributed, as well as how, as I've noticed, the content, how it typically weighs. It's much more numbers and algebra and data, and then a little bit of geometry. That's usually the latter one. All right, let's get to the outcomes of the course. So why are you doing this? Well, here are the outcomes. After this course, you'll be able to, one, articulate your thought process. That means you'll be able to explain yourself. What are you thinking? Why did you do that? And it shouldn't be something I did it because I was told to do it. Like, it's really, you should understand your thought process about why you want to do it. You should also be able to evaluate different problem solving strategies in relation to the content. So, is this strategy really, really good in this particular situation? We will do some different things, especially when we do numbers and operations. That sometimes certain methods are actually are more efficient, but they don't match up with the teaks that have been already taught. They're more for later teaks. So that might be something to introduce. Now, we also are to look at errors, because you're going to be a teacher. Your students are going to make mistakes. When we simply say, you're wrong, let me do it for you, that doesn't really teach people anything. A much better thing is to go back through the process and say, hey, you missed this. Why do you think that's wrong? Or tell me, does this even make sense? How can we double check this? And then last but not least, whenever we have different problem solving strategies, there's always strengths and weaknesses. There is no magic one strategy that always works. We have to assess what are the strengths and weaknesses, and then determine if that's the best tool in that situation for that person, a lot of other things like that. So that is the goal of our class. Now, let me end all of this by simply introducing me. I kind of probably should lead with that, but I don't like to lead with me. I don't like to talk a lot about me. So I am Dr. Bailey. You can call me Dr. Bailey, Sean. I don't really have a lot of preference towards titles. Here are all my degrees. I'm just going to tell you real quickly. I do have a teaching certificate, or I did in Oregon. I've let it expire. I have a master's in education, as well as a master's in math and a PhD in math. I've been teaching for over 15 years in the college level. I am lots of different levels of math, and I deal with people all the time. And some of the things I see now are actually caused by people when they were in elementary school, and a lot of the issues. Now, the other reason I have a lot of feelings about elementary school teachers is because of my other real qualification. These four little ones. These four little ones are my kids, and this is their beginning of the school year pictures from last year. This upcoming fall, they will all be in, they'll be in kindergarten, second, third, and fifth grade, and I'll be at Morris Elementary. They are adorable. They're wonderful little kids, and they work hard. However, I care about their teachers very, very much, because if their teachers do not teach well, it directly affects them. My oldest did not go to Morris when we first got here. He went to a different school, and he had a teacher who was distracted that year, I'll simply say that, by other things, and literally did not realize that he was at the time struggling with some of his reading until like almost 6 weeks into the semester. Like, that's something that should have been picked up and noticed immediately. Similarly, and by the way, that caused him, ever since then, he just has a negative feeling about reading himself. We've only tried doing a lot of other things and finally got him after many, many years after that. That was in first grade. And now he's starting to think reading is fun. So realize when you all do things, even sometimes it's negligence, it has a nasty effect. The other thing is my wife. My wife, she's a social worker. She had a teacher in the fourth grade who simply told her, some people just aren't very good at math. Didn't say she wasn't very good, simply said some people were. That simple statement left an impression in her mind that she could not do well. And so she firmly believed that she could. Well, it took her a long time to get over it. My wife is very intelligent and can actually do a lot with mathematics. But that little bit of doubt, when you all teach elementary school kids, can have a lasting effect. So part of my hope in this class, outside of those normal outcomes, is that you will have a better output vision of math and what it really is. So I'm going to end there. Please let me know if you have any questions, and good luck with the class.